The next video will be the last installment for Batty. And we're up to chapter 8. Naked, not a stitch on. Poor Philip, lying there on the bare mountain, exposed to the wind. Was he dead? I didn't know. I should have put my jumper over him, covered his nakedness, but there wasn't time. Rocks were still falling. There was no way down. And the bats were doomed. Help! Someone help! No one answered. I was alone. I held my fists up to my mouth and blew. I wanted so badly to save the bats. I tried to whistle loudly, but nothing came. The bats were still in there. They would die because of me. Because I raised my voice and disturbed the rocks. And Philip, would he die too? He opened his eyes. He looked at me. Was he accusing me? Did his eyes say that I'd murdered his friends? No, they did not. He smiled. He tried to speak, but he couldn't. Instead, he touched the pouch that hung around my neck. His mother's stone. This, I said. He nodded and once more closed his eyes. I took out the green stone and stared at it. I knew what to do. I began to blow through the hole. The air was filled with a whistle, a strong, clear squeaking, the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. The cave echoed thunder, not of falling rocks, but of beating wings. Hundreds, thousands, millions of wings. The bats surged out of the cave. They darkened the sky. They filled the mountain top until nothing could be seen but a swirling swarm of grey. I had saved the colony. Philip opened his eyes and smiled. He took the stone from my fingers and blew. He whistled his own message to the bats. They dropped out of the sky like autumn leaves in a storm. I shrieked. They grabbed my hair, my feet. They pierced my jumper with tiny claws. The bats hung from me like rags. I stared at Philip. He was no longer naked, but like me wore a living cloak. Bat boy, bat girl, stranded, together on bat peaks. The bats beat their wings in a terrible rhythm. They stirred up a storm of squealing fury. My feet left the ground. I was flying, carried up, 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 lifted into the sky by a flurry of flapping wings, held by tiny feet. The mountain lay far beneath. I saw an explosion of dust spurt out from the cave below. The roof had caved in. I gasped in shock at the sight of the valleys below. Like the prey of a mountain eagle, I was lifted between the mountain tops, and above me Philip, carried by his coat of friends, soared and swooped in the empty sky. He waved and pointed. Far, far beneath, in the tangled mat of trees, was the wisp of smoke. Dad's campfire. The bats began to descend, taking us down through the biting air. For the first time Philip spoke. He pointed down at the campfire and said just one word. Home. And that is where we went. And that ends Batty. I hope you enjoyed the story, and if you've got any suggestions or comments, feel free to leave them. I hope you've enjoyed the story.